Okay, so today we are talking about professional development needs at Piedmont High School. And I have some questions. This is just a little focus group. I gathered you guys together to ask you some questions about our professional development. So if you don't mind, first of all, let's introduce ourselves. I'll let Mr. Barber go
All right,
first.
I'm Jeff Barber. I teach U.S. history and world history.
Okay.
I'm Anna Chambliss. I teach 10th and 11th grade English.
I'm Bart Lavender. I teach the advanced math classes.
I'm Chris Nash, and I'm the assistant director of bands. I teach physics and chemistry.
Okay, thank you. So question number one, and I want you guys to be honest, how are professional development needs met at our school? What do we do for professional development?
We use a series of data days
Mhm.
that are set up in advance on our calendar. We meet on those days and we have schedule, and we've got a group of leadership team that meets and discusses what we want to do on those days, and then along with administration, they plan the day and they put it together for us.
Okay, all right. Anybody want to add anything?
I would also say that our principal sends us things either during the summer or during the school year that he finds that he feels like would be applicable to us or what he wants us to be doing in the classroom too,
True, he does send emails out.
to send us to things like that.
Right. So who usually provides our professional development?
The administration, people from central office, other, I guess, people from other schools, other systems, universities, things like that.
All right,
And we also have professionals for the programs that we use at school
yes.
who come in and provide support on either Achieve 3000 or we have video conferences.
So we've had some web-based training,
Right.
some of the programs that we use here.
And all of this is taking place during the data days, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, let's skip on down. We kind of covered 3 as well. So let's look at number 4. What steps would you take if you were in charge of your own professional development? I want you to be thinking on that, and we'll come back to that a little later on. If you were to focus on your own professional development, I want to know your thoughts on, would you focus on your strengths or would you focus on your weaknesses, and why? And I know that's a difficult question, but that was just something that popped into my head about, what would I choose?
Sure. I enjoy learning things that I need to know, to help my craft in the classroom. So things that I'm not good at, are gonna get my attention, and I'm gonna be more in tune to those things to learn, so that I can be more effective as a classroom teacher.
Yeah, I agree. Also, I think it should be well balanced between strengths and weaknesses, because if you should just stop paying attention to your strengths, those strengths are gonna start to deteriorate over time.
True.
And so, you don't use it, you lose it. So you need to, keep, not only do things that you have weaknesses in, but you need to also pay some attention to your strengths as well, just to make sure, because even though you're strong in something, you can always get better at something.
It's true.
That's a good point. I forgot that we've done PD where our teachers who were strongest at certain things did the PD for us.
Right,
Like we're talking about rotational models and small groups, and
right,
they had Mr. Barber do that because that is one of his strengths. And
right.
so that's a way, I guess, to do PD with your strengths, use them to show other teachers.
That's true.
I think it's important to focus on your strengths and realizing that different people bring different pieces to the table.
Mhm.
Some people might be stronger in one area than somebody in another area, and realizing that, what's a strength for Mr. Barber may not be my particular strength, but we need everybody utilizing their own strength to bring it all together, and that's what's gonna make it work as a faculty and as a school system, when everybody brings in their own strengths, and we don't try to make one the strength for everybody, because everybody's unique.
True. I like
So I
that.
think it's important for everybody to focus on their strength
Yeah,
while you still at the same time work on your weaknesses.
I agree. All right, so I had this slide in there about, some current experience, and this was a focus group question, from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and, they had some images, and they basically had to look at their current experience, and they, took some of these quotes, and the top line is, of course, the current experience and some quotes from teachers. And then the bottom line is, I guess, basically the ideal state of what we're looking for when you're looking for professional development. And look at the difference in the quotes, and bottom right, hands-on scenario-based, we haven't really talked about that, but I think that that's also important as we, look at professional development. And I think Anna talked about it when she said, we need something that we can take back into our classroom. So, I think we've all, experienced some of the things on the top. And, I kind of, felt some of those things myself, and I know you guys have as well. So, I just added that slide because I felt like it was, at the bottom, something that we want to achieve, and, the top, of course, maybe how we currently feel about professional development. So these are some thoughts that were also from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and as I'm listening to you guys, I feel like it's some of the same things that you guys have been saying so far. So look over those and see if there's anything there that you might want to discuss. What about it being sustained over time, or?
I feel like sometimes we might do PD on something and it seems so important and then we don't ever touch on it again. I think we've addressed that a little bit with some of our PD here, making sure that we build off of the Achieve 3000,
Right.
for example, instead of just doing the same thing every time they come back with something new.
I always enjoy it when there's, when it's a teacher delivering PD. Nobody understands the classroom as well as somebody who's in the classroom, I think. So when I'm learning from somebody who is in my current profession and doing what I'm doing, that is really revolutionizing, they're really doing something great in their classroom, I feel like that's when I'm engaged the most, when I'm getting something I can take back to my classroom, not just an ideal
Right.
scenario. I mean, when I'm getting something from somebody who's really doing well, I feel like I'm getting the most out of my professional development.
It's almost like you feel like they vetted this already, so if they vetted it, then it's worthy of you to
Yes.
bring into
just-
your classroom.
Not just
as
an
well.
idea someone came up with that would work.
Right.
It's been tested and proved.
Yeah, it's not firing blindly, it's,
Yeah,
we know it's
Okay.
going to work.
Teachers are professionals. I mean, we have our degrees and we've gone, we know how to do
deliver. what
we know
you're
how to
supposed
do it.
Yes.
I enjoy when they give me the actual, do this activity, and you can figure out all the bits and pieces that go along with it.
Right.
We know how to do that.
Right. So I looked up some statistics, and I wanted you guys to see that, over here on the left, we're looking at only 10% of teachers that have actually chosen, their own professional development. Always, and then of course you can see that, 18% have never chosen themselves, and then 24%, have chosen in a few cases. So I guess I wanted to ask before we move on over to this other graphic is, have you ever chosen yourself professional development?
Yeah, I have a few times for Music Educators Association conference and all-state festival and things like that.
Okay.
But majority of the time, I'm just told where I go.
Exactly, okay. What about you guys, have you ever?
I've chosen some professional development when it comes to advanced placement training.
So AP, yeah, alright,
I've always attended what the school asked me to attend, you know, and they normally would push that out in advance.
Right.
And give you an opportunity, and you might get to choose from certain, like if you went to a workshop, you might get to choose which workshop you go to, but they choose the workshop that
Okay.
you're going to.
I feel like I've had support to choose what I wanted to
Mhm.
in the past. And I have done some of my own choosing, but most of the time I feel like what Mr. Barber is echoing, that I kind of went with what the school has provided or what they've suggested.
Right. Well, over here on the right-hand side, they show that, if they, do get to choose themselves, down there on the bottom, their agreement or their, rating on satisfaction is, much higher. They rated it a 9 or a 10 if they did get to choose themselves, which to me is kind of a no-brainer.
Right.
If you do get to choose yourself, but I did want to, kind of touch on that, just to see that, that is also a graphic from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation that, that they have, done this research, so, I guess, to end, I wanted you guys to think, through these questions, and I wanted to see how you felt about how you would, go about trying to find your own professional development. So I kind of put these questions up there as guiding as to how we would look at it and how we would choose as teachers. So what do you think about these questions?
I think definitely what I want to occur in my classroom is student growth and student results,
Okay,
is what I wanna see, and I want something tangible that I can see.
right,
I want them to learn to be relevant to, what they're gonna, deal with, in life, not so much what it takes to pass a test or something, like that, but more so that they can apply later on, that, they don't need, necessarily to know everything. We cover the standards, yes, but it's about so much more than covering the standard. It's getting them prepared to go out into the world,
okay,
not to be stuck inside a classroom.
right,
On numbers 5 and 6, what my students and peers need from me and some motivating factors when considering professional development, I have always benefited more from working with my peers, specifically when it comes to my content area. I've always felt like I benefited more working and collaborating
Yes.
with people in my field, sharing our expertise, what's working for you, there's such a wealth of knowledge when you're working with somebody who has been doing what you're doing for so many years, and you just get ideas that you're like, oh my goodness, that's
right,
something I would have never thought of, or
right,
just different little ways people are doing something, and it's just a way to connect with students I might never thought of.
That's
Right.
that's an excellent point. Sometimes, just through reflection, you're reflecting on how you're doing is professional development. It can
Right.
teach you a lot if you just have an opportunity to look at how things are going in your own class and look at your students, look at their grades and look at their assignments, and it'll help.
So also, I want to throw this out at you because, you guys are all professionals and been doing this. So, I know that Barbara and Ms. Chambliss referred to this, he talked about his rotational model. And to be able to stand up and teach your peers, you really have to know what you're talking about, to do that. So not only does it strengthen what you have, chosen to do in your classroom, but it's also, because you're, helping out the others, you're getting some feedback from it as well, so let's go back to, let me see if I can go back to this, number 4. So what steps would you take? I kind of led you through with that questioning on the last slide, but what steps would you take if you were in charge of your own professional development? I know that money is an obstacle for us.
Sure.
So, and it really is in all, educational realms, but what would you do? What would be some of the steps that you would take?
The times that I've enjoyed the most, that we had data days and professional development was where we had teachers leading, training, you know, and I think that that's an excellent idea.
Mhm.
I think that it gets everyone involved, and I think, like you said, it gives everyone an opportunity to share something that they're doing in their classroom. I love to take away just a new idea, whether it's classroom management skills or you know, or rotational models or different, you know, technology that they're using. Those are great things and
Yeah.
tools to learn.
Have any of you tried, I think it's Bloomboard, do you remember when we had to do the micro credentials?
Yes, I do remember.
And even the micro credentials, we were told what we had to,
We do.
and it's an online learning platform for teachers. And, you know, you can go in and they have all these little like videos and things that you look at and read, and then, you know, you have to kind of complete these tasks. But we were even told the specific ones that we had to do on that. So, you know, that's an option for us because it is free. You can just, you know, go out there and get online and find some professional development. But unlike you, the stuff that we have here, the teachers that we have here, and their content, I really enjoyed being around
Yes.
what you guys have presented. So, any other steps?
I would just make sure there's time to actually prepare to use what you learn, because a lot of times we're sitting in meetings, so for 4 hours, you need to do this, for 3 hours, you do this, and we're just getting all these tasks, and then all of a sudden, it's the next school day, now it's time to go ahead and apply it without even being able to prepare.
Right.
So I'd make sure there's time built into that day, you can sit down and decide how you're gonna use this, and strategize how you're gonna, you know, apply this with your classes, instead of just trying to do it on the fly, which it rarely works.
That quote about PD being sustained over time is so important to me because it's usually making me step out of my comfort zone. Whatever I'm being asked to try, it's gonna be something new, it's gonna be outside of what I've already had planned or ready for my class, and I need time to try it, you know, in baby steps where I'm not just standing in front of my kids with a lesson that might fall
May
flat. I need to feel confident, you know, to do it. I need time to implement that kind of stuff.
Right.
Think about it.
I think that goes when you have a vision and a goal for a school or a school system. It needs to be something that's sustainable over time. It doesn't need to be something that changes from one in-service day to the next in-service day. It needs to be something that can be measured. It needs to be something that is sustained over a period of time. And it doesn't need to be something that changes.
And you know what? Not one single person here has talked about testing. Not one person here has said anything about standardized testing. So how do you feel about that?
I've had some PD on standardized testing. Some of it was, there's no real way to know how to take that back and apply it to my classroom. And some of it was helpful. I had one time given by the ACT that was actually, gave me things I could do in my classroom.
I've done a lot of training with standardized testing, and I know a lot of people have negative thoughts when it comes to testing, but you know, there's always gonna be some type of tests that we're gonna be measured by, so
Right.
I have no problem with standardized testing. It's not an end-all be-all, but if kids are gonna get tested, we do need to prepare them.
That's right.
Prepare them for that. So there has to be a comfortable medium.
Yeah.
And that's something that you have to discuss as your school, and that's gotta be part of your vision and your goal. It's a component. It's not the entire piece.
If we're gonna use a certain test, I do want to know what's
Right.
on it. How do I need to prepare them for it?
It's important for us as teachers to understand what our kids are being measured by,
Right.
whatever test it is, I think.
I just thought that was interesting, that was one of the things that popped up in my head while we were talking, so. you know,
Cause we have a certain standardized test that I don't know anything about it.
Right,
I hardly even know how it works.
right.
It would be helpful to have.
Well, I
people-
appreciate you guys taking your time and your planning period. So I'm gonna let you guys go back, and I do appreciate it. Thank you.
Mhm.